So I get to use the bike one more time going down from Tagaytay because just because, any doesn't matter. I get to use it. That's what matters.
Intercom failed. Try again later. Intercom failed. Try again later.
At the time, 1934, Bond was talking about, we were at war, and under the Treaty of Versailles, the League of Nations was permitted to have funds which would be made available to fight the war. And, of course, against their chosen boogeyman, whoever that is at the time of whichever war you're discussing. Right? So these bonds, at the time we did not have a digital banking system. So monies would flow between nations via large bonds, or they would issue the things like you've seen, the $100,000 notes or the $1 billion notes or US dollar notes or whatnot, were to fund government programs or fund, for example, the war. They also were designed to be built after the war, and there were many programs that were formulated under the League of Nations and then carried over into the United Nations until 1975, we rewrote the charter and basically destroyed all the programs, or just enacted programs that were created. The Federal Reserve at the time, remember, was under the control of former trustees, which still is, I guess, to this day. But those people no longer have access to the trust. The Federal Reserve is completely and totally funded 100% by the trust. And if you walk the steps, more than one of these trusts. So, for example, Rothschild, Morgan on one side, Chinese people on the other side. Indonesian people came along later, and they were all trustees of the same trust. So it was the right hand, the left foot, and the right arm, all funding, the same body funding the same thing through multiple different channels, which just gave these trustees for the role in the face of the public. Not the public as the people, but in the face of the Federal Reserve people and the U.S. government people. They would all recognize these people as power players in the world. Which is why the military and some other people in the American government believe so heavily in Chinese elders, because the elders claim that they had loaned money to the Federal Reserve and they want their money back. You've heard this a million times. I've heard it a million times. But it's the trust money. It always is the trust money. And the elders never even paid the interest due as a trustee of the trust back to the trust. So they didn't lose their money. It was not their money. They were just managers or trustees. I can explain the definition of trustee. But they didn't own them. They were just a face front on the family level, sideways down from parties that were actually really controlling everything anyway.
And bonds per se are, in essence, IOUs. And even if by some bizarre chance a member now cash these bonds, there's not a single backing bill to facilitate.
Oh, yeah, they're Federal Reserve bonds. So if you own company X, let's call it X Computer Company, and you issue shares or bonds out as shareholders of bonds based on a specific project, and you go bankrupt. Where, can any of these people collect on their shares? Shares become worthless. The bondholders, they can no longer be paid. They file bankruptcy. The federal bankruptcy, all of the assets is allocated back to where the Treasury Department has taken its part, and that was not reserved. Where are you going to cash these bonds? Company you're trying to collect from, and it is a company, is bankrupt. There's no place to go. And who is going to cash in? These bonds are, the assets that are behind these bonds, they're historical assets have already been reallocated over and over. It would be like, if say your grandfather bought a house in 1869. He built it with his own hands and whatnot. And, sold, about his family now, and you decide to go knocking on that person's door and say, hey, this is my family's house. And they're going to say, no, we bought this, it's clear. Well, these bonds are the same thing. The gold assets and everything that was behind them at the time has already been reallocated, reduced, resold. There's nothing behind them. Old paper. So even if you have nobody's going to give it because it's already been sold several times.
Sidekick. Anna von Weitz, what to say, and recently she declared trustees, plural, should be releasing the funds. Who are these trustees and what have they ever done?
Well, I would say former trustees. I assume she's talking about Rothschild, the Chinese elders, the Nazi group, and all the other groups that used to work for the former trust. But then today, she writes an article and goes on with the same thing, the hacker, I'm a hacker, and then she goes on to say that I'm a pirate who stole from the Jews and the Americans. So I've written...
Basically, what she says is assets, bogus, pirate successful system created by MIT hackers and a trust
You say nothing more than piracy stole from Jews and the Americans. First of all, this trust has existed long before there was ever in America, and long before there ever were Jewish people. If by Jewish people you mean Rothschild, then you need to understand their origins. They were a very poor family who had been thrown out of England in the 1500s and taken in by the Habsburg family, and then the commoners, known as Rothschild, married into royalty, and then proceeded to take over their family fortune. If you are referring to the 12 tribes of Israel, which was not even located where modern-day Israel is, you need to go back much further and understand the history of Ruth, Aram. That is the story for next day. Are you saying that the only civilizations which existed on planet Earth who have had their assets and money stolen from them are the Jews and the Americans? You couldn't be further away from the truth. What about the Africans? Tribes of Africa have existed thousands of years. What about the Rus people, the Europeans, the South American tribes, the Canadians, the Inuit? Are you really so bold to say that these people had nothing until these, quote, Americans and the Jews? The history of the Rus people goes back over 150,000 years, the Africans about the same. The Jewish tribes did not even emerge until a few thousand years ago, let alone any other organized religion. Saul was the first king of the Jews, and that wasn't until 1078 BC. Your history is flawed. Did the Nazi group steal from the Jewish people per the order of the other Jewish people known as Rothschilds? Yes, they did. Did Hitler offer up the head of every live Jew in his custody for 50 cents apiece to Rothschild? Yes. And they declined. So do not talk to me about Jews in America. Rothschild was trusted the AITA, they trusted the history of the Chinese elders, the trustees, the Templars, the trustees, the Saudis, the trustees, Indonesians, the trustees, Austrians, a trustee, Mandela, a trustee, and Gaddafi, a trustee, Khomeini was a trustee, Anthony Martin, a trustee, the Lee family of Singapore, a trustee, the Warno, and the list goes on and on. There were over 600 in total. All trustees, not owners, not custodians, not beneficiaries, only trustees. A trustee, the legal definition of a trustee, is a trustee manages property that is held in trust. A trust is an arrangement in which one person holds the property of another for the benefit of a party called the beneficiary. The beneficiary is usually the owner of the property or a person designated as the beneficiary by the owner of the property. In this case, the beneficiary is the people. The trusteeship position officially ended December 23rd, 2012, all the covenant expired. They were granted a 5-year extension to do the right thing on behalf of the owner, the beneficiary. The owners are all the people of the world. Yes, Anna, there are 7 continents, and they are inhabited by almost 9 billion people, and there are only about 380 million Americans. Only 5.2 million of those Americans have any Native American blood, and even less than 2.2 million people are mostly pure American Indians. There are around 15 million Jewish people, including converts, in the world. What about the rest of us? How selfish, blind, and self-centered are you? We, Mono World Holding Trust, are distributing assets to all of the people of the world who have been stolen from. You can talk about hackers and whatnot, but we are you. We are not talking jibber-jabber on the internet with no real basis in reality. I am the trustee. I am also an owner. I am a custodian, and I am doing the distribution that your precious Americans and Jews failed to do during their 5-year extension. Almost 9 billion people in this world. Let us focus on them and not just the 20 million that you speak of.
You know, all these trustees of tribes, etc., some that is surprising. What did they do? What have they done for the people? Obviously, fed information, rubbish information, because they don't have a clue how it is. This is a big problem. The lack of knowledge of what it is. This is what you and the team have been doing, is trying to teach people this is the real way, because every single one of you has been lied to over and over and again. You can carry on believing the lies and wondering why nothing works anymore, and it just works. It's failed. It's an old system. It no longer works. With 50 more pin bars, it still won't work. So you either get on board with the new way, which includes all of us. You'll sit there and watch it start up. It's not your time anymore, it's the people's time. You abused the power and positions of the trustees of the trust, and now have you. Final two questions. Bless her heart, it seems that Kim
Well, it might be. Personally, I think they're very focused on saving themselves right now, and they know that once the first person, and it doesn't matter who that person is, receives the first dollar and then spends it, and I'm not talking about the government, because the government has spent their money just fine. I'm talking about the people. So they know any person receiving $1 from the trust and going down and taking that dollar and buying a pack of cauliflower or a coffee is the end of their day. So they've been fighting very, very hard to make sure that the people do not get a dime, including all of the people that are working on it. So, with every attempt, every transfer, we find new ways of them blocking us, and eventually they're going to run out of ways to block us. There are a lot of things that we have in store. We are learning. We are only human. We are not, walking on water every day or anything like that. We're learning from our enemies. Our enemy is always our good. And so for every card that they play, there's another counteract to use that union. And we will get there. And I'm hoping we get there sooner than later. And we've made tremendous leaps and bounds since we've been around with Thomas, and we're working together, which helps. The people have to understand that they are more than welcome to present us with potential solutions to problems. We are always ready to listen. You never know where the best solution to the problem is going to come from. But we've given up trying to negotiate with people. They simply will always follow a past plan, which we'll talk about more on Sunday. And we just have to go around it. Is the cabal defeated? The answer is no. There are still plenty of people following them and plenty of people doing their bidding. And we must get around what they're doing. We will be successful. They only have so many computers with which to hack. They keep coming up with the same one, with the same model.
Sorry?
Like, saying if I'm using your, computer.
Oh!
I thought I got left behind.
Uh-huh.
I can't see.
I couldn't overtake you.
Oh, why?
Nana.
That's why I was like signaling to Dean to get ahead. I thought he was last.
Good. These brakes are good, huh?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, because that thing back there.
You see, magulo eh. It's right there, and then there's that border there.
Yeah.
It's better to slow down and just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Sorry about that.
No worries. My God. You made the night for me. I mean, it's like, wow. Thank you.